All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thursday, December 21st. We got a decent-sized NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about anything else we like in the game. But all those are leans. My final play, so what I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade me, those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. So make sure to check that out. It's all for free, and I update it throughout the day. So if you do want to fade what I'm actually rolling with, those will be there. Last night, we have a positive night. Now we go 2-2. So the picks were 500, right? But because of that Celtics Kings same game parlay for plus 128, we win 0.2 units in profit last night. The Hawks plus 4 come through for us. We would have won more if we didn't take an alternate line with them. We didn't need to. They win the game outright. But nonetheless, it has been an ice cold sort of streak. And maybe this is the start of something nice. A 0.2 profit night. It's only 0.2, but we'll take the cha-ching. In terms of bad news, though, the ride of the day does not come through. It's coming in from Lil Glecko. Glecko. I hope I'm saying your name right in one of those 3 attempts. But the ride of the day, he says, hey, I've been giving you 5 ride of the days. They all hit. And you know what? I was like, all right, you want to call your shot? Here, spotlight's on you. He drops a parlay of Gordon Hayward. I think it was 16 points. And Clint Capella, 10-plus rebounds. Clint Capella nor Gordon Hayward get it done. I like the spot for Hayward, but it seemed like everyone and their grandma was on Hayward last night. And then on the Clint Capella front, he has a little foul trouble, but the dude was really looking to score in that game against his old team. He finishes with 9 boards, so I will say I don't hate either one of those spots. I think Capella gets that done if he plays more than 21 minutes, to be completely honest. Hayward just had an off night. He had 1 point in the first half, so shout out to you for the attempt at the ride of the day. I put the spotlight on you. You said you'd been hot, and we can't hit in that moment, so gotta drop the womp. But nonetheless, guys, it was a good attempt. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you gotta use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments with your picks, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's play in the comments, giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. So drop those ride of the days in the comments, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We got kind of the holiday theme here in the background for today's show as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into game number 1. We got the Pistons taking on the Jazz. Right now, the Pistons sitting at 1.5-point favorites, and I think that this should explain my point that I've been saying all year long on how the Jazz are not who they, are at home when they are on the road. This is a 2-13 team on the road this season. We just saw them lose to a Cavs team last night that was obviously banged up. So it's kind of like, oh boy. And the loss was like I would say, not even lying, like even though it was a 6 or 8 point game, the Cavs controlled that game for the back half. So shout out to them. But Detroit, one of the worst teams in the league, right? Losing 1 million games in a row here. Only 1.5-point dogs. I still do lean towards Utah because they are just a better team, and their injuries are starting to kind of be not there, right? We're seeing marketing come back. Like, I guess that's really the main one I'm thinking of. But nonetheless, I do think that this is a spot where Utah wins this game. I just don't think that I make it a final play. I don't think this game's worth having a final play on, to be completely honest. One pick from yesterday, it was one of the first leans we gave in the video. We didn't have the balls to roll with it, but Simone Fontecchio over 3.5 rebounds for like plus 145, plus 150 odds, and he ends up having like 6 rebounds. So I wish we roll with that because that was a good spot, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. We hadn't been hot enough and haven't been hot enough to pull that flyer out, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, guys, I do like that spot. And speaking of that, going on a little tangent here, we went live yesterday. We had about 200 people in the stands watching concurrent. Thank you guys for showing up. We went through, made a parlay together. We made our Celtics same game parlay live on stream. It was pretty damn cool. So we'll probably do some more of that at some point as well, but appreciate everyone tuning in to the live stream. But yeah, in terms of leans here, we're looking at Utah minus the points. I do have a pick that I also like in terms of player props here. Bojan Bogdanovic, I don't mind him over 2.5 3-pointers made. This is a Jazz team that allows the most threes to opposing players this season here. And whether you want, and if you want to peg Boyan at a small forward or a power forward, both of those are okay with me. Power forward, which he's technically starting at, they allow the second most threes to, and at the small forward position, they allow the fourth most threes. Also, don't hate his points line. He's been crushing it 3 of his last 5 or 3 of his last 4 actually, and he's playing against his old team. There's some narrative there, so I also like him. In terms of a total, 238 seems just a little bit too high for me. Like I said, we saw a game yesterday of the Jazz, the Cavs 124 to 116 here against the Jazz. I don't think the Pistons have that offensive firepower, so I'm going to lean towards the under ever so slightly. All right, next up, guys, we're probably just going to kind of skip through this game because we have a Cavs-Pelicans game in which the Cavs have Donovan Mitchell questionable, Mobley and Garland obviously out, they have been, and then you have Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Jonas Valanciunas also questionable on the Pelican side of things. So a lot to figure out there. I guess we could say if everybody's healthy, which I don't know if they will be, I'm going to lean towards the Pelicans just because the Cavs, obviously, that hard-fought game last night. No Mitchell. They aren't a back-to-back. If they get him back, sure, he's not going to be tired, but I don't really feel comfortable giving any sort of breakdown on this game while we're waiting for literally 4 impactful players to be ruled in or out. So apologies there. If we roll with anything here, we'll put it in the pinned comment, maybe with a little explanation. But yeah, this game's not worth doing. This is the price we pay sometimes waking up super early to do these videos. But I have a feeling, we might see these guys game time decisions literally until game time. So unfortunately, guys, again, I lean Pelicans just if everyone's healthy because the Cavs on the back-to-back and whatnot. But again, even Mitchell's not on a back-to-back technically if he plays. So kind of tough here. Total 228, slightly lean towards the over, but again, we need to know what's going on with those injuries. Guys, if you have not picked up some Fade Me gear yet, make sure to do so. FadeMe.store. I'm loving the replies that we're getting in the comments of people that have picked it up. They're like, these are amazing quality, blah, blah, because that's what I was looking for when I created Fade Me, right? I did not want to just take blanks like normal YouTube merches and stamp a logo on it and say, here you go. No, this is legitimate quality. Like the products that we produce, like these t-shirts, right? This is our standard t-shirt. The blend is so cool because it feels heavy, but light at the same time, fits really well. I can't say enough about how proud I am about the brand we've created. And honestly, the milestones that we're hitting are pretty damn cool too. So if you do want to support what we're doing here, head over to FadeMe.store and pick up some merch. There's some really cool stuff over there. We just launched the premium embroidered hoodie too, which is $60, so it's expensive for our shop, not really for like the world, but that is probably, I wore it in the live stream yesterday, my favorite Fade Me piece of merch that we've made so far. And this brand's been around only for 6 months, right? But damn, is that thing amazing. So go check out FadeMe.store. Now let's get back to the slate. All right, next up, we have OKC taking on the Clippers. Right now, the Thunder 4.5-point favorites. The total's up there at 234. The Clippers, we almost had that one, but almost don't count in sports betting, right? Only in horseshoes and hand grenades. But we almost had the Mavs here plus 3.5 against them yesterday. The Mavs were up by like 8 with 8 to go, and then the Clippers end up winning by 9. The Clippers have looked pretty damn good, man. They've won 9 straight games. They've covered 7 of those 9 wins. Like, I got to give them credit here. They are on a back-to-back, which they're 2-2 against the spread this year on a back-to-back, and they're starting to prove me wrong in the Clippers aren't the same team on the road, right? Their last 2 wins, 151 to 127 against the Pacers on the road, and then 120 to 111 against the Mavericks on the road. I got to give them credit, but I do lean towards OKC in today's spot because of that back-to-back. This is an OKC team that obviously is a good team. We don't have to sell you on that, right? But they're 4-1-1 against the spread this year when they have a rest advantage over their opponent. They're at home and they have a rest advantage over their opponent today. Gotta lean towards them. A player prop I like in this too could be some Josh Giddey lines here. If there's one sort of, and I don't really want to call it a weakness because this defense has become pretty damn sound on the Clipper side of things, but if there's one little gap here, it could be shooting guard defense here. They're allowing the 3rd most points to shooting guards on the season, and then middle of the pack, actually bottom half of the league, but closer to middle of the pack in rebounds and assists. Josh Giddey's PRA line set at 21.5, and he's hit that in 4 straight games against the Clippers here. He's hit it in 56% 40% of games on the season and in 4 of his last 5. He just went for 16, 12, and 4 in his last game against Memphis. So I don't really hate looking at him in some sort of a player prop spot there at all. I do think that obviously, like I said, this is a pretty decent Clippers defense, so I don't necessarily envision him running away with it, and he's not the first option on that team. But I think that I could see if his minutes are at least there and his minutes are, you know, correspond with what we're looking at here, I do think that that one cashes as well. Now the total sitting at 234.5. I could see OKC kind of running and gunning here and putting up maybe 120 plus, meaning if the Clippers keep this close, it most likely goes over. So I don't like the over because I could see the Clippers maybe being a little bit sloppy offensively after a back-to-back. But Paul George, you know, didn't play last night. He might play tonight. There's a key score for them that's going to have fresh legs under him, right? So I'll lean towards the over here. And I feel like I kind of have to. If I think OKC is going to win this game, it's going to be because I think that they run and gun, right? So I'll lean towards the over 234.5. All right, we got the Bulls taking on the Spurs. I got to sound the psycho alert alarm. My mind goes to the Spurs in this spot. Now, I know I sounded the psycho alert alarm. You don't have to tell me how crazy I am in the comments, but go ahead for engagement. The Bulls coming off that win last night in a back-to-back spot. They still looked good. Kobe White didn't look as good as he had looked. Still put up 17 points, so I guess 17, 7, and 5 is still pretty damn good from him. But they had almost like an off night and still beat the Lakers, which is, I guess I shouldn't even say that they had an off night, but they didn't look as sharp as they had for 48 straight minutes like we would have thought because they'd been so hot, right? But you still got to give credit where it's due. DeMar DeRozan went for like 28 or something like that. So I'll give credit where it's due. But I do think that this could be kind of a gotcha spot. Like, this is a Bulls team that is turning into, so far in the last 10 or so, a good team. They're 9-1 against the spread in their last 10, 7-3 straight up. But they come in as only 3.5-point favorites against the Spurs. That smells like a trap to me. And Victor Wembanyama should be playing tonight. He's probable. I just see this as kind of like, oh, the Bulls have one game where they kind of look like the Bulls of last month in this spot. A few matchups here too. Like, I don't really love the spot for the the Bulls here. Like Devin Vassell, I like his sort of matchup here. Wembanyama, I think that this is going to be the type of game, or I guess I should say the type of matchup against Vucevic that you know, we see him be able to kind of not out athleticize him, but out move him and outreach him and all that. We saw Wemby play really well against the Bulls just the beginning of this month. He went for 21 points, 20 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like, I just see this being a potential spot in which we see San Antonio come through. The last time they played, I don't have the score note up in front of me, but it was a somewhat competitive game. It wasn't like a blowout, right? So maybe the Bulls kind of get caught sleeping here in a spot in which they're just due for a loss. Again, I sounded the psycho alert alarm. If you think I'm a dummy, feel free to fade me. But what I'm looking at here in terms of, you know, pegging this game, I do think that this is a spot in which, for whatever reason, this Bulls team that's playing like a good team should be more heavy favorites against them, and they're not. So what do the books know that we don't know? They know something. The total sitting at 230.5. I like the under in this spot as well. I think if the Spurs were to keep this game close, it's got to be somewhat of a low-scoring game because though they play zero defense, their offense I just don't trust to continue to put up a bunch of points here. Like they scored, what was it, 82 points against the Rockets, 94 against Minnesota, 110 against New Orleans. Like, if they're gonna get to that 231 number, which is what the total here has it, I don't think that this means that the Spurs keep it close. I think that means we're looking at like a 121 to 110 type of a game in general. So yeah, keep this game close. I like the under. All right, Memphis taking on the Pacers here. Memphis favored at home, 4.5-point favorites. Total sitting at 247 now. Memphis, obviously, with a last-minute win. Ja Morant game winner, first game back. It was electric. It was electric, and I love Ja Morant for how exciting he is and all that. But I want to put the pause button / brakes on. Let's overvalue him coming back so soon, okay? So this isn't Ja Morant hate, but it's like 4.5 points to the Pacers here. I can't pass that up, right? The Pacers should be healthy going into this game. Memphis looks like they may get Marcus Smart back. We'll see. But nonetheless, like, I think that this is a spot in which, you know, you're going to hand me 4.5 points. You got to take it as the Pacers. I understand how good Ja Morant is and how he brought them back and ended up winning that game. Like, they were getting smoked. And he was like, yeah, let's go ahead and win this game. And he just did. So, shout out to him. I almost said shoot out to him. Oops, can't say that word around him. But I do think that this is just a spot where let me just see it a little bit more. Am I crazy for being like, let me just see it a little bit more before we start throwing and laying 5 points as Memphis here? Like, when's the last time they were 5-point favorites, right? This is a team that has struggled all year long. They're 7-19, 10-16 against the spread, and they're only 1-11 here at home on the year. Let me pull up really quickly there against the spread at home here too. Obviously, it's going to be better, hopefully, than 1-11 against the spread at home. They're 3-9, so it's like I just am not totally ready to trust this team. And this is a Pacers team that you know, is good. Like, they're not great. They've been in a slump, but Tyrese Halliburton's been a little banged up. They've had some injuries. Like as a healthy Pacers team, I think that they can kind of outrun this Memphis team. So I could be wrong. I could have egg on my face tomorrow as we talk about this game, but I like the Pacers here plus the 4.5 points. It just seems like too many points to give a Pacers team. And the total's up there at 247, which I totally get. But that's even a little bit too high for me to confidently take the over. So I guess by a slight default here, I'm going to take a peek at the under in this spot, I guess. Now, some of the guys that I would almost consider in terms of player props here is not going to be Ja Morant, anything like that. It's going to be guys that benefit from the attention Ja Morant has been getting. So I don't hate the idea of looking at Jaren Jackson Jr., depending on the prop that you want to look at. His points line is at 22.5, seems a little bit too high, but the Indiana on this season is allowing the second most points to opposing players and the 5th most points to centers, so you can make an argument for it. I also don't hate a Desmond Bane look in this spot either. Again, we're going to get tons of Ja Morant attention. The Pacers already not a very good defensive team. I think Desmond Bane could be the type of guy that goes out there and says, oh, okay, yeah, let me hit a couple threes and pour some in this spot when no one's really thinking about me. And in terms of how they cover the small forward, we've capitalized on this plenty. We took Paul George against the Pacers a couple nights ago because they do not cover small forwards well at all. They're allowing the 2nd most points on the entire year to the small forward position. So Desmond Bane, we could give him a look. But again, this is sort of a tough spot for me because it's like I don't want to overreact to Ja Morant being there, right? And all of a sudden now we're looking at player props. I'm speaking out of both sides of my ass, looking at player props that would benefit from Ja Morant's presence. I don't know. I just want a little bit more data on Ja Morant's presence there prior to us, you know, jumping overboard about it. So I'll lean towards the Pacers as well as the slightest of leans. This does not make its way into the final plays towards the under. And then, like I said, a couple player props there that I don't mind as well. Plenty of player props in this game. Super high total. Definitely a spot if you want to look at some overs. All right, guys, before we get to the last 3 games of the slate, I want to talk to you about Daily Grind Fantasy. I've talked to you about them before. We've been partnered for pretty much over a year now, and my favorite tool that they offer is the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. They have it for prize picks, underdog, parlay play, all of these, sleeper, which we love too, right? And what it does is it compares sportsbooks lines to prize picks lines, so you know the value you're getting in terms of a percent odds to hit when heading into it. So we could filter this to the NBA here, let it load, and we can see the most valuable plays over on prize picks right now based on mathematics. Go ahead and check out Daily Grind Fantasy. You can use the link in the pinned comment and make sure to use code GUYBOSTON, GUYBOSTON, to get 25% off your first month. Guys, this is such a cool tool. Makes prize picks super simple. You don't even need to research if you use this tool. Now, you know, if you're like me and you like sports betting and you like the process, you can go in here, get some ideas of plays, and then obviously fact check them and all that. But you know, they're using sportsbooks lines built in to determine the percent chance to hit, right? Sportsbooks are doing everything that you and I are doing. So if you want to do double the work, go ahead. I do it plenty. But damn, this is such a cool tool, guys. And they have tons of other tools as well. The correlation tool, which has been super profitable on the year. Look at that units profit. And what it does is looks at players. It's great for the NFL. Looks at players. So if you're going to take the over in a passing yards for a quarterback. You're going to want to look at the over for his number 1 receiver, so on and so forth. Super, super cool tool, guys. Again, that link will be in the pinned comment, and use code GUYBOSSIN. Make sure you use that code to get 25% off the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. I've talked about it for over a year now. Such a cool tool. If you follow me on TikTok, you know that we're super familiar with that tool when putting in our prize pick slips. All right, next up, we have Milwaukee taking on Orlando. We'll start in the player prop section because I do have a couple spots here for the same player that I don't mind. I don't mind Paolo Banchero's assists or his rebounds. Rebounds is going to take a little bit more to convince me to pull the trigger, but assists I could totally see happening. In his last 10, he's averaging 9.1 potential assists. He'd only need 5 for this to cash for plus 116 odds. He's hit it in 3 of his last 4 against Milwaukee here as well. And in his last 10, he's hit it in 5 here, and he's averaging plenty enough there. So I do think that this could be a spot in terms of, you know, getting a plus money play. And think about it, if he gets the Giannis matchup here, which he most likely will, he's not going to have the easiest time scoring. I mean, it sounds, as I think about how contradictory this is about to be. I don't hate his PRA line because he did have a good game against Milwaukee last time, but in theory, and in what should happen, is he's going to have a tough time scoring, so he's going to be passing the ball, and obviously that Magic team's getting a little bit, you know, I guess a little bit healthier and whatnot, and Wendell Carter Jr. comes back, a little bit more presence towards him. I think that we could see some little dump-off passes for easy assists for Paolo. So, again, this could be like the Fontecchio play yesterday. Do I have the cojones to put it in my final plays? Not exactly sure just yet, but I do think for plus 116, him getting 5 assists does seem like a pretty damn valuable play. Now let's talk about the game. We got an 8-point spread from Milwaukee, and I think that that's fair. I think this Orlando team coming off of a game in which they didn't really look all that great, right? Last night, Miami beats them 115-106. Milwaukee well rested after a 132-119 win against San Antonio. They didn't even need their guys the entire time. Giannis played 33 minutes, which sounds like a lot, but that's honestly like a 5-minute, you know, discrepancy from what he would normally play. So I could see Milwaukee winning this game, you know, fairly easily here at home. I don't hate them whatsoever. Again, Orlando, I don't think they're getting the credit they deserve, but they're not at home, and I think that that's going to matter. Milwaukee's a tough place to play, and so give me the Bucks here minus the points. In terms of a total, 238.5, 238 here. I see this one going up and over because I do think that Milwaukee, you know, puts in maybe 120 even on this Magic defense. So if this is going to be a close game and Orlando wants to keep it close, I think that they're going to have to come offensively as well, and that would obviously help our Banchero overs as well. So I'm going to lean towards the over. That's not going to make it. I can already tell you that won't make it into its final plays because I'm like a 52% confident rate on that. You know what I mean? So I'm honest with you guys. You got to give me at least that credit. But I don't really like the under here. We've seen Milwaukee carry way too much weight in terms of points scored, no matter who they're playing lately, to be able to take an under. Next up, we got Minnesota taking on the Lakers here. Both teams playing on a back-to-back here. The Lakers catching that L yesterday against Chicago, and Minnesota in a hard-fought game against Philly. I've seen this spread already jump up to -6 on some sportsbooks, so this 4.5 may not even be relevant here. I like Minnesota, but I have a feeling that they could have some bumps and bruises after that Philly game, right? Boy, oh boy, we said it on live stream. I wish we pulled the trigger on Karl Anthony Towns PRA over and Joel Embiid PRA over, because we literally said it. I said, these guys are going to eat. You can go clip it. I was like, they're going to eat. They hate each other, and Karl Anthony Towns, when he gets up for a game and he gets intensified, if that's the right word, he is so freaking good. And I knew that he was going to have that type of game, obviously, right? But nonetheless, I don't know if that's going to impact today's game, because I don't mind Karl Anthony Towns' PRA lines or points rebounds line or points assist lines. He's hit all those in 5 of his last 6 against the Lakers here. They're allowing the 6th most points to opposing power forwards, the 10th most assists. Like, I could see Karl Anthony Towns eating again, but does he have the come down after yesterday? He might. So I guess buyer beware on Karl Anthony Towns. But in terms of this game, I think 6 points is too much. If it was 4.5 like it was, I don't mind Minnesota, but 6 points seems just a little bit too much. This may be a game that we just enjoy as a fan, and we don't really have any money on, to be honest, because I could see this being a hard-fought game. And I know it's like, oh, well, big take, Evan, right? It's like, well, just the way that these two teams play, if Anthony Davis decides, hey, I'm going to play defense today, I'm going to be the defender we know, this could be a ridiculous in the trenches game. You have LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. The X factor here, I do think, will end up being Ant Edwards, which that's where I kind of still lean towards Minnesota, but is 6 too many points? Screw it. Minnesota, no matter what the spread is, I think that, like I said, I talked myself into it there. I think Anthony Edwards is the X factor. LeBron, Towns, Davis, and Gobert can muck it up down low and sort of, bang each other out. Pause. But Anthony Edwards should be able to do whatever he wants on the perimeter. I'm not afraid of D'Angelo Russell or Cam Reddish getting that matchup at all. So, all right, I guess it sounds like I might like Anthony Edwards props as well, but his line just have been a little bit too high for me, to be completely honest. But, all right, the total sitting at 224. I think I have to stick with my guns here and lean towards the under because, like I said, I could see both these teams coming out of back-to-backs being a little banged up. The one caveat, and I guess counter to my own point I'd throw in is I am a pretty big believer in, okay, well, in a back-to-back, it's not always like a low scoring. It could be that your defenses are just absent because you're tired. Maybe that's the case here, but I don't think so. I think these two teams have enough gusto going into this game, like, with the names playing, obviously, and then the two teams themselves in the West. Like, I do think that they could have some sort of, like, juice here in terms of, like, all right, let's get up for this game and let's win. Minnesota, first in the West. The Lakers, not for nothing, but they are a playoff team right now. They're sitting at the 8th spot. So, yeah, I'll lean towards the under, even though there could be a chance that the defenses are just absent because of two back-to-backs. All right, and we're closing today's show out with, wow, what an amazing instant classic, sure to be, type of a game. Blazers taking on the Wizards. You could pick or choose whatever you want here. I'll lean towards the Blazers because, well, I think they're better than the Wizards. That's not the hottest of takes, and they're at home. And like I always tell you guys, this Blazers team's a sneaky against the spread team when they're playing against teams that are going to have, more of a perimeter focus. And Washington's definitely one of those teams. So no Shaedon Sharpe here for Portland, but they got Anthony Simons back. I like that spot. And I know it might sound crazy, but I wouldn't even be surprised if we make this a final play. Like, I do like Portland in this spot. Again, at home, and their perimeter defense is, like, legitimate. Like it is. You'd think DeAndre Ayton, big body. No. Their interior defense has not been the reason why they've covered games this season whatsoever. It's been their perimeter defense. And when you have Poole and Kuzma, who like to shoot and be around the arc, talk about a perimeter, right? So give me Portland here. Now, the total sitting at 240. I'm going to lean towards the under, but I don't really even want to touch this total. You have two such volatile teams and volatile offenses and defenses to begin with that it's like, why are you betting a total in this spot, right? This seems like a gotcha moment. No matter if you take the over or the under, one of you guys is going to be like, damn it, I knew it. You know what I mean? So I'm probably sticking away from that. In terms of player props here, there are some value spots here. I think that DeAndre Ayton over 3.5 first quarter points could be a spot. We bet on him the other night. He didn't come through for us, but he still hit this in pretty much, damn near every game this year. Not really, but 65% of games this year. He's hit it in 8 of his last 10. This is a team in which the Wizards are allowing the most points to centers in the entire league. I think that Ayton, his points line is down at 14.5 too. I wish that I could confidently take that, but I just can't seem to. He's been getting so many boards, so I'll give him credit there. But I don't mind his first quarter points, as weird as that may be to throw out there as a player prop overall. And again, we bet on it in that last video, not in a final play way, but we found it, right? And it did not come through for us. So here I am being like, all right, well, I like this spot, but last time we bet it didn't even come through. But I also don't mind Denny Avdija over in his assists either. This is a guy that has plenty of potential assist opportunities in his last 10 here, averaging nearly 8 potential assists. All we need is 4 from him to cash this one against small forwards this year too. Like I said, Portland's been playing really well against perimeter players, so they're not allowing that many assists to perimeter players. But Avdija any day here could kind of go out there and put up 8 assists, which we've seen plenty this year. So 1 player prop on each side there that I don't necessarily mind. But guys, keep an eye on the pin comment. Make sure you're watching the YouTube shorts. Make sure you're watching the TikToks we put out. And yeah, we'll probably do another let me know in the comments. One, if you're still watching, comment 28, because that's pretty damn crazy. You listen to this annoying voice for 28 minutes. Shout the hell out to you, man, or woman. But we might do another player prop video today. I doubt we'll go live. That was awesome yesterday. I doubt we'll go live, but we might throw out another, you know, find a player prop with me, raw and uncut type of video. So let me know in the comments if you want that, as well as let me know if you made it this far into the video. But guys, that's a wrap for December 21st. Hopefully we can keep the momentum building here. Again, profit last night. We've actually made profit in 2 of our last 3 days, which I feel like I should be bragging about at this point based on how cold we were. But nonetheless, we keep it real. But guys, we'll catch you in the next one, all right? Peace out.